How did you use new media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? The first research stage of our topic was actually watching the film noirs in class. We watched them on the screen on videos as they were quite old. Watching these films really helped ideas for our own film and to actually get to grips with film noir. Also, I used the internet to do my own research for film noir. I looked at websites of presentations and I also went on YouTube to look at trailers for films. This really helped me to gain an insight into the history and popular films that were out in them times. The planning of our project took place as a group. We all sat down and talked about ideas for a plot of our film. We wrote notes and then came up with a storyline. Once we had devised our plotline, we drew out a storyboard, deciding what would go on each scene, settings and some camera angles. This helped us in deciding a script, props and locations. We then drew out our final storyboard. We had separate bits of paper and each drew and wrote on what was happening. We wrote about costumes, locations, lighting and camera angles. This really helped when it came to writing our screenplay. We all sat down at the computer and wrote our screenplay together. We used Microsoft Word to do this. We used a simple black font and then did locations, props and costumes in red. We put a key at the top of the page telling us what each colour meant and highlighted the appropriate areas. We did mise-en-scène in green, camera angles yellow, editing blue and sound in purple. This helped make the screenplay clear to understand and really helped when we were filming. When we had written this, we also did our character profiles. We wanted to decide what the characters were really like before we actually acted them out. We used character profile sheets from the internet to decide what they would be like and then went on to film our interviews. We used a HD camera for the filming and set in the studio using the studio lights. This worked well. We then downloaded them onto the Apple Mac computers. We did this so that we could all add the clips together using Final Cut Express. This was simple as the clips were good as there wasn't much editing involved, so we didn't need to crop them down or anything. When deciding on our costumes for our film, we used them from the drama department at our school. We did this because we were looking in there and we found so many of the different costumes that fit the era that we wanted to film in. We also made sure that the costumes suited our characters, and using the interviews that we did, this really helped us. As our planning for production company, I looked up a few different ones which I've included in my blog, including Warner Bros. And 20th Century Fox. I looked at their logos and they were very striking and bold. As a group, we sat down and put different ideas in for the production company name, and the final decision was A Stickman Production. We decided this would go at the beginning of our film and we simply wrote the title. This didn't look very exciting at all. It was plain and simple but didn't have an eye-catching effect, so we decided to change it as it wasn't a very good start to the film. We decided that we have one of our group write it on a black piece of paper in a white pen and we filmed it on the camera. We then downloaded it and put it on the Mac computer. We downloaded it into Final Cut Express and put it on the beginning of our film. We added an effect to make it be unwritten, which looked more interesting than the original. For our film, we filmed with a HD camera and most of the time we used a tripod. We used the tripod for our filming so that we got a clear effect and the camera had no shake to it. This actually worked really well and made it easy for us to pan and use tracking on the camera. We used all natural lighting for our film and got some single source lighting from the sun, which is a convention of film noir. We filmed a lot of separate clips for our film and then downloaded them onto the Apple Mac computers. We did this by using the log and transfer key. It was easier having separate clips as we could decide what needed to be cut out of them and what we would use. The editing process was done on the Mac computers using Final Cut Express. As a group, we sat together and decided every element that we wanted to include. When doing the film review in our lesson, we had looked at many in different magazines to get ideas. This really helped, and also evaluating them helped decide what I would put on my own. When evaluating them in groups of 2, we used a HD camera to film ourselves talking about the film review. Also, I wrote 2 of my own film reviews on Brick and Ella Confidential. Doing this really helped me get the idea of how to write one and what language is needed. I realised that it shouldn't be too long and it needs to be interesting. I wrote these using Microsoft Word. Next, I took photographs with my group for the film review. I had the idea that I wanted the image across the whole page and the text on top of it. I wanted the photograph to be the main focus of the film review. We used a Nikon camera to take these photos in the studio with a single source light which had a softbox on it. I then downloaded the images and decided what ones I wanted to use using Windows Photo Viewer. When I had decided, I opened the photos in Adobe Photoshop CS5. I am familiar at using this program, so it was quite simple what I was doing. I added curves to the photo to give the colours more depth. I then added the film review using the text tool and made it white on the background. I think it looks really effective and isn't too long that it would bore the reader. The other ancillary product was to make a film poster. When taking pictures of the film review, they were also for the poster. I wanted the poster to be eye-catching as it was selling the movie. I also wanted it to be in black and white and to show that it is a film noir. I again used Adobe Photoshop CS5 to create my poster. I made the image of Nancy and Martha black and white and didn't include Clark in the poster. He's in the film review and I think it leaves some mystery to what else is happening in the film. I then added the text and actors' names and the title using the text tool. I put them in red to show danger and maybe love, and I think it works really well with the black and white. I also included the 15 age rating as it has scenes of murder and the text at the top of the poster using the text tool. I didn't want these two sections of them to be the main focus, so I brought the opacity on them down. Overall, my film poster is my favourite out of all three elements. I think it links well in with the film and is quite eye-catching, which also gives a sense of mystery.